Hello everyone, this is Ari Budari. I'm here to showcase another title I worked on with a few buddies of mine. This time I was working with Christopher Fowler, Matthew Blethen, Joe Ricks, Brett Green, and Steven Seufert. All these guys are really cool, and we all enjoyed working on this title together. This game, of course, was built from scratch, like every other title we always work on, in C++. We created a lot of neat tools to implement models and export objects in from Maya, and it actually was really fun working on something like this, especially using 3D collisions and loading in a lot of different kinds of architecture. So I worked on the graphics side of things. I was asked to work on a deferred rendering system. This is the first time I actually worked on a deferred renderer, and it took me about a month to make. This game itself was actually worked on in two months, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you exactly what it looks like. So here we have a scene here. The game itself is a platformer where you're a mummy who wakes up and needs to discover who he is by going through his tomb and unlocking mysteries of his past. So there's a lot of puzzling and platforming regions. Now, again, I didn't really work on the gameplay side of things. I worked on the rendering system, so I'm just going to showcase that. The rendering system I worked on is not a forward render, it's a deferred renderer. And I'm just going to go ahead and toggle through a lot of what I was actually working on. So here we have a debug key that I just clicked to showcase the diffuse textures on everything. So this is what the game looks like using diffuse. And this is what the normals look like. And here's what the final scene looks like with point lights, ambient light, and directional light. So again, using a deferred rendering system over a forward rendering system gives you this ability to use many different point lights. And I was actually able to stack 3 different point lights on top of each other and have them oscillate. The oscillation itself was written by Steven Seufert, who did a really good job to make the lights look like little torches. Again, we worked on this title in 2 months. We didn't have any artists work on the game, so we used a lot of programmer art, which, as you can see, is mostly just basic geometry. But I think the scene looks very cool regardless with the deferred rendering system applied to it. Again, here's what it would look like, had it been just a typical PS1, PS2 game. Perhaps we can fake some textures to make it look like there's a light on it, but here's what it looks like with the deferred rendering system. And again, the scene looks much more intimate, much more believable that you're actually in a room with torches. So I was working on this for about a month, and I think the results look pretty good. If you have any questions regarding how to write a deferred rendering system from scratch, I can help you with that. It is kind of a daunting task, but once you understand really what's going on, you'll realize that it's actually a little bit easier to make than a forward renderer. And of course, using deferred, you can apply really cool shaders and to make really cool post-processing effects. And if you ever need any kind of tutorials on how to make post-processing effects, I can also teach that as well, or I can pretty much just show you how I did everything with straight-up code. So if you appreciate that kind of stuff, send me a message or comment below and let me know. Thank you very much for checking this out.